valley so low. Hang your head over, hear the wind blow. Hear the wind blow, dear. Hear the wind blow. Hang your head over, hear the wind blow. Roses love sunshine, violets of dew, angels in heaven know I love you. Know I love you, dear. Know I love you. Angels in heaven know I love you. If you don't love me, love whom you please. Throw your arms round me, give my heart ease. Give my heart ease, dear. Give my heart ease. Throw your arms round me, give my heart ease. Send me a letter, send it by mail. Market care of Birmingham jail. Birmingham jail of Birmingham jail. Market care of Birmingham jail. Thank you so much. Welcome to Kenny's West Side Pub for this, the 2025 installment of Peoria's one-man show, the Marty Monologues. I hope you're all amped up and ready to listen. And welcome to the stage from Fish Rat Magazine, People of Peoria, and Meanwhile Back in Peoria, it's our own Marty Wambacher.
Thanks for coming out to the show, everybody. Really appreciate it. Great crowd tonight, and Sarah sounded great tonight over there. We're going to give her another round of applause in a minute here. We've got a great show for you tonight. Before we start the show, though, just want to do a few thank yous to some people that helped make the show happen tonight. First and foremost, I want to thank Sarah Marie Dillard. That song was called Down in the Valley, and it's featured in the movie Stir Crazy, if it sounded familiar to you, with a famous ex-Peorian Richard Pryor and Gene Wilder. She did a great job with that. Most of you probably know Sarah's a local musician. She plays solo gigs, plays with her band Sarah and the Underground. She has a Tuesday night open mic night called the Listening Room every Tuesday at different locations. Follow her on social media to see where she's at. She's got a director's cut show where she interviews local musicians, sings with them. That's a fun. All these shows have been on my blog. Sarah's a great musician. She's played at every one of the Marty Monologues. Let's give her a great big hand right now. Thank you, Sarah. That song sounds so good. Two other people that I want to thank that are here. You all met them at the door tonight, Amber and Joe Bohannon. They not only work the door tonight and every other night, but they also, we don't need the applause yet, they also serve as the story editors for the Marty Monologues, which means I do this in front of them in my apartment. This is probably like the 6th time they've heard this show, and I know when they go home tonight, they're going to be like, thank God we don't have to hear those fucking stories again. They tell me what they like, what they don't like, and really help me shape the show. Amber even told me to reorder the stories, and she was right. So they really helped the show. They're great friends of mine. Amber and Joe Bohannon, let's give them a nice round of applause. All right, a person that can't be here tonight, but she's a big part of the Marty Monologues, is Chelsea Tams. She's the art director for the Marty Monologues. She's designed the logo. I mean, all the way back. We started doing these in 2018, which is hard to believe. She designed the logo, has done all the posters, did the art for this poster, for this one, turned out really good. She lives in Chicago now. If you need a logo, you need some sort of branding, she does marketing. Her business is letteringworks.com. So if you're in the market for any kind of artwork, Chelsea Tams, letteringworks.com. She's really done great work with the Marty Monologues. Let's give her a nice round of applause. Chelsea Tams. And another guy that couldn't be here tonight, but he really is responsible for this show happening, and that is Sean Kenny, the owner and operator of Kenny's West Side Pub. I've known Sean since he first started. I did a blog on him back in 2013 when he was at Farmington Road. Great guy. I was just talking to him a few months ago, and he's like, hey, are you ever going to do another Marty Monologues? And we always did them at the Apollo Theater, which has been closed. I'm like, no, the Apollo's closed. I don't know what I'm going to do. And he said, well, why don't you do it at Kenny's? He just volunteered and let us do it here. So that's great of Sean. He also owns the Friendly Valley Tavern. If you've never been there in the spring, fall, and summer, I think they're over now, but he has outdoor shows there that are really good. Sarah plays there. And Sean has really done great for Peoria entertainment and everything. I want to thank him for letting us do the show here tonight. Let's give him a nice round of applause. Sean Kenny. Yeah. And I know that there's people here that haven't been to the show. Let me look at my notes real quick. I haven't done this for 5 years, so I'm a little bit rusty. So there's people here that have never been to a Marty Monologue show. There's just a couple things that I want to ask of you. One is when I'm up here talking and doing the monologues, we got 3 monologues for you tonight after this introduction. If you could not have your cell phones out and be taking pictures or filming or even checking your texts, there's a time when you'll be able to, which I'll tell you. But when I'm up here talking, if you could not have your cell phones out, I'd really appreciate it. You kind of want to hear the monologues. It's the main part of the story. So if you don't pay attention to it, there will be a pop quiz after the show. So you keep the cell phones down. The other thing is, this is the first Marty Monologues where you can get a drink or 2 or 3. But if you could not be getting up and going to the bar while I'm doing a monologue, I would appreciate that too. Ash is our lovely bartender tonight. Give her a little round of applause. We do a break. I'm going to make snack mixes tonight. Again, those of you who've never been here, in between the monologues, I make a snack mix. I got all the stuff back there. Keep your tickets handy because at the bottom of the ticket, there's a number down there. I'll make a snack mix, call a number, and whoever wins that can come up and get the snack mix, say hi to everybody. So it's going to be a lot of fun. It always is. The last thing I want to explain before we get into the show is this. One thing that I learned way back when I started having the idea for this show, I thought, it's not like a stand-up show to where boom, 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 you know when to applaud or laugh. With a story, sometimes they call them soft endings, where you're at the end of the story, but it's not always obvious that it's the end, and you might think, well, is there more to come? So what I did, I thought I'll have an applause sign when I finish the story. This is kind of an accordion one. I will show you all. At the end of the story, I'll show you all that. You'll know that it's time to applaud. I'll go and make the snack mix, and that's the way the show is going to run. I would kind of like to see, do I have this the right way? Yeah. I do. I got a little marking on it. I want to try this out right now. Let's just see what kind of a crowd you are. On 3, I'll show this out. I'll throw it out, and you can applaud, scream, yell, do whatever you need to do. 1, 2, 3. All right, thank you. Thank you very much. You're a great crowd. And again, I really appreciate all of you coming out tonight to Kenny's West Side Pub. Let me put this down here. The name of the show tonight is You've Got Jail. It's kind of a play on the old You've Got Mail. Does everybody remember You've Got Mail from AOL? I was telling a friend of mine about it, and my friend said, I don't know if everyone's going to get that. That was so long ago. And it didn't dawn on me, but I guess it was. It was the 90s. The 90s to me doesn't sound that long ago, but I guess it really was. But so it's a play on You've Got Mail. And back in the day, when you heard You've Got Mail, that was kind of a fun thing to hear because you didn't get a lot of email. Well, let me tell you, when you hear You've Got Jail, that's not a good thing. And I'm not proud of this or bragging, or I don't want it to sound like I think it's cool to go to jail, but I've been in jail 5 times. So I don't want any applause for that. I mean, to go to jail once means you've done something really stupid. To go to jail 5 times, well, that means there's little something wrong with you. And I mean, that's why I was in therapy for a couple years back in the 80s. But no, I've been in jail 5 times. There's a writer, David Sedaris, and he's actually coming here to Peoria. He does a monologue show too. I almost said he does a monologue show like mine. I do a monologue show that I would like to be like his. He's really good. He's a writer. He writes for the New Yorker. His sister's Amy Sedaris. If anybody remembers her from Strangers with the Candy, they're a real kooky family. They're funny. But he had a line in an interview I was reading. He said, one of the plus things of being a writer/storyteller is you can be like in the most horrific, obscene kind of predicament in your life. And he said, you'll be thinking to yourself, God, if I live and get out of this, I can't wait to tell the story to everybody. And I've actually had that thought while sitting in jail. And so tonight, I get to tell you, I have 3 stories from 3 different jails, one in New York City, one in Cincinnati, and one right here in Peoria, Illinois. So again, thank you all for coming. I'm going to make the first snack mix right now. Sarah's going to play some music while I make that mix. And there we go. I got this thing marked. Thank you. If you need to get a drink or something, go get it now. I'm going to make the snack mix. Thanks again for coming. I also got a bib from Amber and Joe. It's a Walter White Let's Cook bib. So I'm going to wear this while I make the snack mix. All right, Sarah.
Thanks, Marty. Well, sometimes I go out by myself and I look across the water, and I think of all the things and what you did, and in my head I paint a picture. But since I've come on home, my body's been a mess, and I miss your ginger hair and the way you like to dress. Why don't you come on over? Stop making a fool out of me. Oh, why don't you come on over, Valerie? Valerie. Did you have to go to jail? Put your house out of the sale? Did you get a good lawyer? Hope you didn't catch a tan. Hope you found the right man who'll fix it for you. Are you shopping anywhere? Change the color of your hair. And are you busy? Did I have to pay that fine that you was dodging all the time, and you still dizzy? Since I've come on home, my body's been a mess, and I miss your ginger hair and the way you like to dress. Why don't you come on over? Stop making a fool out of me. Oh, why don't you come on over, Valerie? Oh, Valerie. Valerie. Since I've come on home, well, my body's bad a mess. And you know I miss your tenderness. Stop making a fool out of me. Why don't you come on over?
Great job, Sarah. That sounded beautiful. All right, we've got the first snack mix made. I'm naming all of these. This is the Greg and Dan snack mix. You guys know Greg and Dan from WMBD radio? Great show. I've known Dan for almost 40 years now. Way back when he was on the John Williams show, I was on that. That's when I first met him. So I was on there last week promoting the show, and I made them a snack mix. This is the snack mix I made. It's using, what do we got here? Peanut butter granola, Hot Ones peanuts, protein granola that is oats and honey, a couple other peanuts, some M&Ms, kind of a sweet and salty snack mix. Let me shake it up here for you. Get your tickets out, because I'm going to call a number. We'll see who wins this. I just pick them out at random. We'll give it a Spinal Tap number 11. It's 11 in the house. Anybody? This has happened before. One time I went like 4 numbers and nobody came forward. How about, we'll just go to 12 then. Oh, Claire. You wanna say hi to anybody, Claire? Enjoy. All right, first snack mix has been given away. All right, let me turn my notes here and. Okay, you want to take your apron off? Oh yeah, better take off the apron. Sarah always, in every show, she's always, now I remembered the sign because my friend Amber told me, but Sarah usually will tell me, hey, you haven't changed your sign yet, or she kind of helps back there, so thanks, Sarah. Yeah. In 1998, I was living in New York City, and this is something I never really told anybody, but I was intimate with Rudy Giuliani a couple of times. Maybe I should put it this way. In 1998, I got screwed by Rudy Giuliani, not only once, but twice. Here's what happened. When I moved to New York in 1993, I was born and raised here, and moved to New York in 1993 to further my writing career, and David Dinkins was the mayor back then. Well, in 94, Rudy Giuliani became mayor, and he ran on this thing that he was going to clean up New York City, whether New York wanted him to or not. I mean, the first thing he did, he homogenized Times Square. I mean, when I first moved there, I loved Times Square because it had porno shops, XXX shops, hookers, drug dealers. Well, Giuliani got rid of all the fun stuff and brought in like a Red Lobster, the world's biggest Red Lobster, a giant M&M store, and it was like, I stopped going to Times Square. The other thing he did, one of the other things he did on his quest to clean up New York, he started these things called neighborhood sweeps. And what a neighborhood sweep was, just say the Lower East Side, they would take a ton of cops and literally sweep the Lower East Side, but they wouldn't like go after criminals or anything. They just wanted big numbers, so they would like give tickets and literally arrest people for throwing stuff on the ground, jumping a subway turnstile, smoking a joint on the sidewalk, which back then in New York they usually didn't care about, but just minor things, and they did this to people that they knew wouldn't cause them any trouble. So then at night, the news would report that Mayor Giuliani's sweep of the Lower East Side netted 500 arrests and tickets for this and that, and drug-related, smoking a joint would be a drug-related arrest. So everybody that lived in the city didn't like it at all. Well, I got caught up in one of these sweeps in 1998. My parents had come to visit me. It was a Friday night, I remember. We went out to eat, went and got a couple of drinks at a bar, and I dropped them off at their hotel at 55th and Broadway. And I lived at the time at 75th and Broadway in the Beacon Hotel. I know it sounds kind of weird to have lived in a hotel, but back then the Beacon Hotel, they called them residential apartments. Basically, it was a little hotel room with a little kitchen and a little bathroom, and that was your residential apartment. That's the only place I could get into when I moved there. It was really hard in '93 to get an apartment. I don't know what it's like now. I mean, I've heard that it's absolutely insane. But anyway, I lived in the Beacon Hotel at 75th and Broadway. So I thought, oh, that's 20 blocks. I'll just walk home. So I'm walking home, decided to stop at a deli. I got a single can of beer, 16-ounce can of Budweiser, and they would put it in a brown paper bag. That always kind of made it right to drink on the street or subway. Cops usually just didn't even look at you. Well, tonight all that changed. I got up to like 72nd and Broadway. They were waiting for the light to change. My can of beer in my hand. All of a sudden behind me, I hear this police siren. This woo woo. That's my police siren imitation. I hear this thing off really loud, and I turn around, and these two cops come out. Well, pretty soon they're standing there just kind of staring at me, and I'm like, can I help you guys with something? Hold my can of beer, because I'm thinking there's nothing wrong with that. And one of them looks at the can of beer. He's like, what's in your hand there? I'm like, it's a can of Budweiser. He takes it from me. He's like, do you know that drinking alcohol, open alcohol in the streets in New York is against the law? And I'm like, it's in a brown bag. And they kind of looked at each other, and they know that's against law. You may think it's okay to be doing this, but next thing you know, someone's going to think it's okay to smoke a joint on their stoop, and then 3 blocks from now, there may be people dealing drugs. And I didn't want to break his speech up or anything, but like 4 blocks away, there was a park. It was the park they used for Panic and Needle Park. It's still there, like 72nd Broadway. But anyway, yeah, there were drug dealers in there. Every night there's drug dealers with knapsacks and a little litany of coke, smoke, marijuana. Then you could buy anything. Well, they didn't want to go arrest those guys because those guys had guns. They wanted to bust me for an open can of beer because I was an easy mark. So they're lecturing me. He takes my can of beer and he throws it on the ground. He litters. I'm not going to say anything to a New York cop. I'm just letting it all go. Well, like a crowd of people formed behind me, kind of amazed that this is going on. Oh, they write a ticket up, and they're like, this is above and beyond a traffic ticket. You have to go to court, you're going to have to go in front of a judge, and you're going to have to pay a fine. And if you don't show up, a warrant will be issued to pick you up. And I'm just like, yes, sir, yes, sir. And they get in their car and they leave. I've got this ticket. Well, a guy came up to me then who was kind of listening to this whole thing, and he's like, did you just get a ticket for an open can of beer? I'm like, yeah, and the asshole threw it on the ground. So I picked that up, I threw it in the garbage on my ticket, and he's like, so what are you going to do? And I tore it up into little bits. I'm like, nothing. I threw it in the garbage. I'm like, I just don't want to drink a can of beer again on the street, and unless, a cop that pulls my name, that warrant will just sit there. He's like, yeah, you're right. So go home, go back to the Beacon, drink a couple beers in the safety of my apartment, and promptly forget all about it. So now fast forward to October. I'm at work. I worked at a graphics place in New York. I worked usually second shift, but that sometimes spilled into 2 or 3 in the morning because we could get really busy. So this was one of those nights. Didn't get out of work till like 3 in the morning, take the subway home. There was a corner bar in the corner of 72nd and Amsterdam, a couple blocks from where I lived, called the P&G Tavern. Famous New York bar. It's not there anymore like all the other places I loved. But it had, if you Google, don't do it now, but if you Google P&G Tavern, New York City, you'll see this famous sign they had. It was used in a lot of movies. Well, I used to go there after work because it was a 4 o'clock bar. I knew the overnight bartender, Steve. So this night, I go to the P&G, Steve's there, nobody else was in there. Steve's in there, hey man, what are you doing? I'm like, oh, not much, just got off work. And you know what, I'm gonna lock it up, there's nobody in here. He's like, you want a few beers on the house? He was the owner's son. I'm like, yeah. So me and him sat there, drank beer, and shot the shit till like 6 in the morning. Then he's like, all right, I'm gonna go home, I've been here all night long. I'm like, okay. So I walked back to the Beacon Hotel, I lived on the 9th floor. Go into my apartment, I think I had another beer, and then went to bed like at 7 in the morning. Well, I slept for about an hour, and at like 8 in the morning, all of a sudden I hear this boom, 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 somebody knocking on my door. Well, I told you the Beacon was, at the time, it was kind of a budget hotel. It's really nice now, they fixed it up, but back then, a lot of like European kids stayed there because it was pretty cheap for New York. So there was always kids running around drunk and high, whatever, banging on your door. So I thought that's what it was. So I just kind of sat up a little bit, and I'm like, get the fuck out of here, I'm sleeping. Then I hear the 5 words that you don't want to hear when you're trying to sleep. Open up, it's the police. And I'm just like, what the fuck? And I go to my door and I look through the spy hole, and there's two guys there, like in their mid-30s, kind of chubby, but they just have plain clothes on. They have knit shirts. One guy had shorts. It's kind of a warm day in October. Another had jeans, and I'm thinking, these guys are trying to rip me off. So I say through the door, I'm like, you guys don't look like cops to me. Well, one of them holds up a piece of paper. The other one takes his badge out. They're like, we're here to pick up Martin Wambacher. Is that you? And again, I've completely forgotten about that thing a couple months before. And I'm like, yeah? They're like, okay, if you don't open your door, we're going to knock it down. And I'm in my underwear. I just got out of bed. So I open the door in my underwear. They come walking in. They're like, you got to get dressed. We're going to take you to court today. And now I feel like I'm in the Twilight Zone. I'm like, there's some huge mistake here because I haven't done anything. Well, then one of the cops looks at the warrant. He's like, do you remember getting a ticket for open alcohol last August? And I looked at him and I'm like, yeah? He's like, well, you never paid the ticket. And I'm like, I just forgot. I lied about ripping it up. I'm like, yeah, I forgot. So what? Mayor Giuliani has instituted a new program where we pick up outstanding warrants and go and get the people, and they have to do what they have to do. You have to go to court today. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. And they said, no. I'm like, we're going to court now. It's 8 in the morning. They said, no, court doesn't get going until around 11. We're taking you back to the precinct station house. You're going to have to sit in a holding cell until around 10:30, and then we're going to take you to court. We have to stay with you. I'm like, I'm going to jail over an open can of beer. And they both look kind of embarrassed because it was just so stupid. This is New York City. And I'm like, I'm going to jail over an open can of beer. And they're like, yeah, and get dressed because we got to get going. I'm like, all right. So I put my clothes on, and I had a pack of cigarettes in my front pocket. I smoked back then. And I looked at them, and I'm like, can you smoke in jail? And they both kind of laughed a little bit. They're like, no, you can't smoke in jail. I'm like, do you guys care if I have a cigarette before we go? And they kind of, again, looked at each other. I could tell they felt funny about this. And they're like, yeah, have a cigarette. Well, they're walking around my apartment. Anybody that's been in one of my apartments, I have stuff all over my walls. So this was just a little room. So the walls were covered with pictures. They're walking around looking at this stuff, probably thinking, what kind of a freak is this guy? I'm smoking my cigarette, put it out. I'm like, okay, let's go. They said, okay, put your hands behind your back. And I'm like, why? And they're like, we're going to have to handcuff you to take you to the cop car. It's the rules. I'm like, look, I've lived here for over 4 years. I know everybody in here. I know everybody at the front desk. I don't want to walk out of here in handcuffs. They're like, no, we have to do this. So I said, okay, put the hands behind my back. They handcuff me. We go to the elevator, and we go down to the lobby floor from the 9th floor. They've got an arm. They've got each arm, and I'm walking like this. So I walk out in the lobby. I see Mary and Ken, these guys. I knew them since I had moved in there. I kind of look over, and their mouths are just hanging open like, Marty Wambacher's getting arrested. And so I shook my head, and I explained it to them later. But so they take me to the precinct house. It was like 10 blocks away. Get out. Go in the place, they take my handcuffs off. I have to go downstairs to the holding cell, and there was nothing in the cell. There was a cement floor, the cell, no toilet, no nothing. They're like, oh, and there's nobody else in there. And they're like, okay, you got to give us your shoes. You have to take your shoes for jail because they don't want you to hang yourself with your shoestrings. Probably a good thing they did because I might have done it. So I give them my shoes. They take them. They're like, we're going to be upstairs working on paperwork. The door will be open. If you have to go to the bathroom, you need anything, just give us a holler. I'm like, okay, we'll be back at 10:30. Well, one thing I'm going to mention in other stories, how slow time goes in jail. Because there's nothing to do. This one, there's nobody to even talk to. I'm sitting on a cement floor with cockroaches running around, and I'm just like, I don't believe this. I've had an hour of sleep. So after what seems like an eternity, they come back down with my shoes. I put my shoes on. They're like, okay, we're going to drive you to the Center Street Courthouse. This is in downtown Manhattan, a huge courthouse. So they handcuff me again. And we go up get to the courthouse, have to go up this huge flight of cement stairs. I'm handcuffed, and they've got each arm. And I hadn't showered, so my hair is kind of wild. As we're walking up the stairs, it was funny, because people are looking at me like, oh my God, look at this handcuffed guy. I wonder what he did. Little did they know, I was drinking a can of beer. So we go into the courthouse. they talked to somebody in the front, and they told them which room my case was going to be heard at. And they go to that room, and one of them went, I'm with the other one, and he talked to a bailiff. He comes back, he's like, it's going to be about 45 minutes. And they're like, we got a waiting room that we can sit in. So we go back to this waiting room, they unlock it, we're sitting in this room, they take the handcuffs off. And I even said to the cops, because they were pretty nice guys, and I felt bad. I'm like, look, I can just sit in that courtroom. You guys can leave. You don't have to babysit me. And they're like, no, we do have to babysit you because we can't leave you until you can get up with a public defender, and then we can go. They're afraid that you would leave, even though you would give us your word. And then I did. I said to them, I'm sorry that you guys got stuck doing this. This is so crazy over one can of beer. Well, that started then. One of them said, yeah, fucking Giuliani with these stupid rules of his. That started the three of us going on and on about Giuliani. And I never thought that I would be arguing about a mayor with two New York cops in a courthouse. So we're talking about that. Then it did dawn on me. I'm like, what's going to happen to me? They're like, you're just going to have to pay a fine, and then you can leave. And now I'm thinking this fine is going to be huge. I mean, they had two cops pick me up, take me to jail, drive me to the courthouse, babysit me. So I'm thinking this is $200, $300, $400. I only had about $40 on me. And I'm like, I've only got like $40. And they said, don't worry about it. And I'm like, will I be able to go get money? This is 1998. There weren't like ATMs everywhere. I said, will I have time then to go get money to pay this fine? And they were like, yeah. I said, I'm not going back to jail, am I? And they're like, no, you're not going back to jail over this. So they knock on the door, like, okay, they're ready for him. So they walk me to the public defender in this courtroom, and they're like, okay, good luck, and they left. Public defender, short little guy with glasses, and he's like, I understand that you didn't pay this ticket for open alcohol. I said, yeah, I just forgot to pay it. He's like, okay. He said, I also understand you spent the morning in jail, and I said, yeah, okay. He said, all right, Your Honor, we're ready to go. The judge says a few things, says something about open alcohol. He kind of rolled his eyes too, like, what are we doing? And the public defender says, my client wishes to plead guilty. He did it. He forgot to pay the ticket. I do ask, though, he spent the morning in jail. I do ask, Your Honor, that you reduce his fine due to the fact that he spent the morning in jail. The judge is like, $25, pay the district clerk, boom, next case. So all of that for $25. I always told people, I kind of felt like I got double fucked by Giuliani because for it costs the city money to do this. And I'm like, are you kidding me? I would have rather paid like a higher fine. So back in the day, that was usually the end of this story, but there's a second part that I'll tell all of you. So now a year later, 1999, I moved to an apartment on 16th Street. It took me years to get an apartment. I finally got one, just a little studio. I'm living there. I'm working at the graphics place, but I'm also doing freelance writing. When I lived in New York, I wrote for the New York Daily News, the New York Post, Time Out New York, a lot of places. And a friend of mine was a freelance writer too, David Dalton. He used to write for Rolling Stone. He called me up one day. He's like, hey, have you heard of this magazine called Gadfly? And I'm like, no. He said, it's done out of North Carolina. The editor and publisher of it, his name's John Whitehead. He's an attorney, and he's got all kinds of money, and he wants to do his own kind of Rolling Stone. And he's kind of looking for way out writers, and I told him about you. I said, really? He said, yeah, and he pays really well. If you want to write features for him, he wants you to call him. I said, yeah, I'll call him. So I called him, a real nice guy, and about my age. We were talking about stuff. He said, yeah, any kind of story feature idea you have, just send it to me email, and I'll tell you yay or nay. So I started writing for this Gadfly magazine. They paid very well. One of my favorite things I've ever written, I wrote for them. You can find it online. It's about Curly, the Three Stooges. It's called The Genius of Curly. It was a 4-page article, and it's online. If you Google Gadfly, Marty Wambacher, Curly, it'll come up. Again, do it after the show. So I wrote some really fun things. Got to know this Whitehead guy, really good guy. I haven't talked to him in years. But now we fast forward to 2000, and he calls me up. He's still writing for him. He's like, hey, me and my wife are coming to New York in a couple weeks. He's like, what are you doing on this Saturday? He said, we got the afternoon free. He said, I'd love to meet you. We'd never met. He said, I'd love to meet you in person. And then he said, and I'd also like to see where you live. He was like a millionaire. And he didn't say it in so many words, but I know he wanted to see where a quote-unquote starving artist lived in New York City. I said, yeah, you guys come over. I'd love to meet you and your wife. And he said, we'll bring some beer and we can hang out for a couple hours. We got to do something that night. I said, no, I hope that sounds great. So they come over. He was amazed by, my apartment was just so tiny. It was just a studio. And it was always funny, my New York friends, because it was at 16th Street between Broadway and Madison. My New York, it was a great location. My New York friends thought it was great, but my friends from Peoria that would come, as soon as nobody ever said anything, but their faces would just go, like, you live here? His paint was peeling. There was somebody that I knew, I wasn't even going to do this in the original thing, but somebody I knew came to visit me once from Peoria, said, hey, we're coming to Peoria, me and my husband and kids. Can we come to your apartment and see like where you're living at? I said, sure. They came, they didn't say anything at the time, but again, you could see it on their faces. Another friend of mine said as soon as she got back to Peoria, she called her up and said, you will not believe where and how Marty Wambacher is living in New York City. He's in this little dump. So anyway, so people that had never seen a quote-unquote New York apartment were kind of amazed by it. So we're in there, we're talking about New York, and the subject Giuliani comes up. And I'm like, yeah, because of that asshole, I spent a morning in jail. And he's like, what are you talking about? And I told him the story I just told all of you. And at the end of it, he's like, that's a great story. I'm like, yeah, I tell it a lot. And he said, you know, I got an upcoming issue. I got like 4 pages to fill. Would you want to write it for the next issue? I said, yeah, I'd love to. I said, a friend of mine's a photographer. He could get a shot of me on the sidewalk drinking a beer out on the streets. And John's like, God, that would be great. And then I am good at like headlines and titles. I thought off the bat, I'm like, how about we call it A Real Beer Bust in New York City? Oh, perfect. You know, think you can have it Wednesday? And I'm like, yeah, I can have it tomorrow. I just told you the story. He said, oh, that's great. I'm like, what would you pay for the feature? He's like, 4 pages, I can give you $400. I'm like, really? That's great. Yeah, 100 a page. And then he stood up. He's like, do you want it now? And I said, yeah. So he took out this wad of cash and he gives me 4 $100 bills. And it was Saturday. I thought, man, I'm going out on the town tonight. And so I did. It came out. I've got it here with me. This is the issue. This is Gadfly. Michael Jackson on the cover. This is it. A real beer bust in New York City. I hope you can all see that. There's the photo. And yeah, well, it was funny when we were taking this photo because Frank took about 50 shots. Frank was thrilled he was getting published. But I said to him, I'm like, wouldn't it be funny if we get arrested while we're taking these photos and I can get another story out of it. So it was a 4-page story. Like I said, it paid $400. So really, when you do the math, I had to pay $25 to the city for the original fine, but then I got paid $400 for writing that article. So if you subtract it, really out of this whole ordeal, I made $375. Yeah. So I stand here in front of all of you, a living, breathing testimony that sometimes crime really does pay.
Keep it going for Marty Wambacher. I rode my bicycle past your window last night. I roller skated to your door at daylight. Sometimes it seems like you're avoiding me. I'm okay alone that you got something I need. Well, I got a brand new pair of listening. You got a brand new key. I really should get together and trying out your suit. I've been looking around a while. You got something for me. Oh, I got a brand new pair of listening. You got a brand new key. I ride my bike, I roller skate, don't drive no car. I don't move too fast, but I go pretty far. For somebody who don't drive, I've been all around the world. Some people say I've done alright for a girl. Well, I asked your mother if you were at home. She said yes he is, but he ain't alone. Sometimes it seems like you're avoiding me. Well, I'm fine alone, but you got something I need. you. Well, I ride my bike, I roller skate, don't drive no car. I don't move too fast, but I go pretty far. For somebody who don't drive, I've been all around the world. Some people say I've done alright for a girl, but I got a brand new pair of roses. You got a brand new key. I think we should get together and try them out, you see.
A melody song. I remember that one. Okay, on to the snack mix number 2. This one I call it Cheez-It, it's the cops. Because it's a bunch of Cheez-Its. I was looking for snacks the other day. Does anybody here know how many Cheez-Its they make now? It's insane. There's big Cheez-Its, extra crunchy Cheez-Its. Extra cheesy and extra toasty. And there's like 4 more of them. And I thought, I can't buy all these, so I just bought these. I think there's like 8 Cheez-Its now. It just kind of amazed me. It was one of those moments. So I've got a Cheez-It snack mix here. Let's try, how about 22? Anybody? Oh! I didn't know that. No 22. Oh! Now tell everybody your name there.
My name is Tom Wambach.
My older brother Tom. And I swear that wasn't rigged. All right, let me check my notes here. Okay, in 2008, I was traveling from Peoria to New York City, and I experienced the worst turbulence I've ever been through in my life. And it was on the ground in the Cincinnati airport. I also discovered that American Airlines is a bipolar airline. Let me explain. In 2008, I was still living in New York City, and in April of 2008, I turned 50 years old, the big 50. So I thought, oh, you know what, I'll go back to Peoria, celebrate with my friends and family, and that's just what I did. Flew back here to Peoria. I remember went to Jimmy's Bar, hadn't been there in a long time. Went to some old haunts, went out with friends, went out to dinner with my family, had a really good time. Then Monday I was going to fly back to New York, or so I thought. So take the little puddle jumper from Peoria to O'Hare, get there, it's like 9 in the morning, and go to my gate. And my flight was delayed. It was supposed to leave at 11. It says flight now delayed, now departing at noon. Well, that was fine with me. I like to have a few beers or drinks before I fly. I'm a terrible flyer. I have fear of heights. I have a lot of phobias. I have a fear of heights, a claustrophobia, and when you mix those with flying, I'm not a good flyer. So I like to have a few drinks to knock the fear away from me. You don't want to take it too far, or they won't let you on the plane. But I kind of know where to gauge it at. So I thought, okay, it's 9 in the morning. I'll go have it. And that's too another thing I love about airports is there's never a guilt factor in like drinking at 9 in the morning because there's always a bunch of other people too. So I go to Spar, have a few beers. About 11:15, I go back, thinking they'll be boarding soon. Another sign there, flight canceled, see agents behind the desks. There were some desks with agents and lines. I'm like, oh, great. So I wait in line, go up to finally get up to see this woman. She's all kind of frazzled and harried because I'm sure everybody was screaming at her. She looks at my boarding pass and then gives me a card with an 800 number and says, you can just call this 800 number and they will try and schedule you on another flight. Hopefully you can get out today. And I'm like, I did have a cell phone, but this is 2008. Not everybody had them, but I acted like I did. And I'm like, you mean I have to go to a payphone, try and call an 800 number? I wanted her to do it. And she's like, you don't have a cell phone? I said, no. And I said, can't you do this? Do something for me? And she kind of slumped her shoulders and said, hang on, and typed some stuff in. And
She's like, okay, I can get you from Chicago to Cincinnati. In Cincinnati, there's a 7 o'clock flight. It'll get you back to New York about 9 o'clock. And then she said real sarcastically, are you happy now? And I'm like, yeah, I'm ecstatic. I'm just trying to get home like your airline said that they would do. So she gives me my new boarding pass. I get out of eyesight and earshot, take out my cell phone, just a little flip phone back then, call my parents up. I'm like, hey, listen, my flight got delayed. I'm not getting into New York till later. I'll just call you tomorrow. Oh, it's too bad. We'll have a safe flight. So I find my gate to the Cincinnati flight, go to another nearby bar, have a few more beers, but I'm drinking slow. Like I say, you don't want to get bombed. I had lunch, but by the time I was ready to board the plane, I just reeked of alcohol because I'd had like 7 or 8 beers through the morning and day. So I get on the Cincinnati flight, get a beer on there, even more alcohol smell, but I'm not bombed or anything. Well, anyway, get off in Cincinnati, find my gate going, which I thought was going to New York. There's like a crowd of angry people there. And I went up to some guy, I'm like, what's going on? He's like, look at the sign. New York City flight canceled, no evening flight leaving for New York tonight. And I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. And he's like, no. I'm like, they canceled my flight in Chicago, that's why I'm here. He's like, and there's nobody here. There's nobody at the gate. So I kind of look down the aisle, there's another American Airlines gate that's boarding. And I said to him, I'm like, I'm gonna go ask that woman down there, see what she knows. So I go down to this gate, and her back was to me. I said, excuse me, I said, I'm at the gate down here, it's supposed to be going to New York. They canceled the flight, there's nobody there, you know what's going on? She turned around and started screaming at me. She's like, we're boarding this gate here, don't be asking me, I don't know anything about that gate. And now that's like the last straw that broke the camel's back with American Airlines. So now, and I had been drinking somewhat, and I'm sure she smells the booze, so I just started screaming at her. I'm like, you fucking bitch, your fucking airline has fucked me over all fucking day. On about the third fucking, she picks the phone up and says something to somebody, and then she hung it up and just kind of smiled at me. And I'm like, what, you called the cops on me because I cursed at you? And she said, yeah, I did. I'm like, oh, now I thought she was bullshitting me. I did. I lived in New York where, like, you hear somebody tell them to go fuck themselves like every other minute. So I didn't think it was that big of a deal. So I pick up my bag, start walking back to my other gate. All of a sudden, boom, I get tackled. I'm on the ground, bag goes flying. I look up, and getting up from me is like some 22-year-old airport cop, some blonde-haired kid. And he looks, I'm like, what the hell are you doing? And he kept calling me boy. He was this hick. Cincinnati Airport's not in Cincinnati. It's in Frankfort, Kentucky, which is a little hick town right next to Cincinnati. And this kid looks at me, he's like, you're drunk, boy. He said, you're cursing out our airport employees. I can smell the booze on you from here. And he's like, get up. And I'm like, look, I'm okay. Yeah, I cursed at her. I'll apologize if I have to. Let's not make a big deal out of this. He's like, oh no, we're making a big deal out of this. In fact, you're gonna get ticketed for drunken disorderly conduct. I'm like, look, let's just let it go. I'll go back to my gate. No, you're coming to the front of the airport with me. And so I walk up to the front of the airport thinking, I don't believe this. What he's on is a walkie-talkie, calls the cops. So the cops come pulling up. 2 cops get out of the car. One of them goes with the airport cop. He knew him. And so, Harry, how you doing? Good, I'll take you back to the woman that he cursed out. When the other cop was looking at me, he's like, you got an ID on you? And they all had these hick accents. And I'm like, yeah. Give him my ID. And that's where it went really bad. Because he's looking at it. He's like, you live in New York City? And I said, yeah. He's like, oh, so you think you can come here and be Mr. Big Shot with all of us because you live in New York City. You think you're the boss of all of us. And I'm like, I don't even know what that meant. You think you're the boss of all of us. And I'm like, no, I don't think I'm the boss of anybody. I said, I'm just trying to get home. Well, I can smell booze on you. You've yelled at airport employees. You're gonna take a breathalyzer test. So take a breathalyzer, and yeah, I'm like 4 points over. He's like, dude, you were drunk. You're going to have to go and sit it out at the Boone County Jail. That's the first time I heard the words, the Boone County Jail. And I'm thinking, you've got to be fucking kidding me. His other friend comes back. Yeah, it got verified. She said she'd go on report as he cursed her out and other people, and I didn't curse anybody else out. And I'm like, I didn't curse anybody else out. Do we really have to do this? Like, look, we don't want to hear you talking, Mr. New York. And they handcuffed me, put me in the cop car. Boom, we're off to the Boone County Jail. And it was every bit as horrible as it sounds. This little jail in the middle of nowhere. I go in, and what was weird is like they didn't fingerprint me. They took one photo of me. but not up front and side like a regular mugshot. They just took a photo of me, and I'm like, what, do they want to remember me for years or something? But they did. We're in this room, and they write out a drunk and disorderly ticket telling me I'm going to have to sit in there all night till I'm sober in the morning. And I'm just, oh no. And they bring in a jail suit, an orange jumpsuit and sandals. A lot of you have probably seen the Netflix show Orange is the New Black. When you go to jail, if you got to stay in there for any amount of time, you have to wear an orange jumpsuit. Take off your clothes, give them all your belongings. So I'm starting to do that. I had the Doc Martin boots on at the time, which kind of do look like biker boots, but I took the boots off. There's two male guards and a female guard in there. The female guard looks like, what's her name? Olive Oil from Popeye. She's kind of tall, skinny, greasy, dark hair, and she's calling me Mr. New York. And I take out my boots, she's like, ooh, look at Mr. New York's fancy motorcycle boots. And she's like, what kind of motorcycle do you drive, Mr. New York? And I'm trying not to be a wise ass to anybody. I mean, I'm in jail, so I'm like, I don't have a motorcycle. And she looked all mad, she's like, then why, you got motorcycle boots, Mr. New York? And I'm just like, oh my God. I put the jail suit on, and now we have to go into the other half of the jail where there's a giant jail cell with like about 30 just crazy looking people in there. And they're fighting and yelling, and I'm thinking, one good thing happened, because I'm thinking, I thought he was going to put me in there, and I am going to die in there. And right next to that was a door with like a little rectangle window in it, painted black. He opens the door. He's like, that's where you're going to sit and sober up. Now get in there, New York City. And I went in. It was like a phone booth. I mean, I'm in there. There's a little toilet in there overflowing with puke and shit. And it stunk in there, bugs. And like I say, it was about the size of a phone booth. But I was just thankful I didn't get put in the general population. I found out later, I was telling an attorney in New York about this story, and he had had dealings at the Boone County Jail. He's like, you know, that's the meth capital of like America? And I said, no. He's like, they were all meth heads in there. He said, I've had dealings there, and people there in that jail are crazy. He said, they probably didn't want to put you in there because you could have gotten killed. He said, not that they cared about you, but they would have had to written a big report then about you dying in their jail. So I'm in this little room. I was grateful that I didn't have to go in there, but I'm in there like 12 hours. They threw me in there like 6 at night, around midnight. I'm just kind of sitting in there, and like I said, claustrophobic anyway. I felt like I was in there for like 2 weeks. Well, at one point, I've got like cotton mouth from the beer and everything. They didn't give me anything to eat, any water. So I get up and look out the little rectangle, and I see a guard come walking by. I'm like, excuse me, sir. And he looks at me, he's like, what do you want? And I said, I've got like really dry mouth. Can I just get a glass of water from you? And he comes up and looks at me in the window eye to eye. He's like, this ain't New York City. We're not serving you some fancy water in your cell. Just sit down and shut up. And he walked away, and I'm like, they think water is like fancy. So I knew I was in big trouble. Well, anyway, a couple other things happened. It was just a long, long night. Finally, around 5:30 in the morning, the door opens up. And there's kind of a short, chunky guy, mustache, probably in his 40s. And he looks down at me. And this guy, finally, there was a nice guy in the Boone County Jail. He looked at me. He's like, Martin Wambacher? And he had a piece of paper. I'm like, yes, sir. He's like, did we learn anything over our stay in the Boone County Jail? I said, yeah, I learned to keep my big mouth shut in an airport. Bingo! That's going to get you out of here. Listen, your bail's $120. If you've got a bank card, a charge card, a check, cash, you're free to go. I'm like, I have a bank card. Perfect. So he processed me. Yeah, he was a nice guy. Processed me, got my clothes back, and he's like, where are you going? I said, back to the airport. I'm trying to get back to New York. And he's like, little advice for you. I wouldn't start drinking in the airport this morning. I'm like, no, I'm not having 1 ounce of alcohol in there. I'm not even going to look at anybody. He's like, now you're thinking. He said, there's cabs outside of here. There's always cabs waiting to take people to wherever they're going. I said, okay, thanks. Got my ticket for drunk and disorderly, go out to a cab, get in the cab. I'm like, could you take me to the airport? Oh, yeah, no problem. I'm like, is there like a 7-Eleven or a convenience store along the way? I want to get some water and something to eat, and I need to go to an ATM. Yeah, no problem. We're driving, and as he's driving, he's kind of looking at me, and he's like, can I ask you something? And I said, sure. He's like, what did you do to spend the night in the Boone County Hilton? And I kind of laughed. I'm like, and I said, I was trying to fly back to New York City. That's where I'm from. And I'd had beers through the day. It's not like I was bombed or anything, but I'd been drinking at the airports. And a woman started screaming at me at the Cincinnati airport. So I started cursing at her. I really lost my temper. She called the airport cop. They called the cops, and I held my ticket. I'm like, I got a drunk and disorderly ticket, but they made me sit in jail all night. And he's like, the reason I asked, he said, you didn't look like somebody that, did anything horrible. He's like, I hear this story at least once every couple weeks. They do that at the airport. If they smell booze on you, they'll give you a hard time, and you end up in jail. It's like a sport to them. I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. He's like, no, it's sickening. So we go to the 7-Eleven, go to the ATM, I get some water, get a sandwich. I hadn't eaten like over a day. I hadn't slept in like 40 hours. And so up at the cashier, I got some change for the flight. Back then, you could pay for, I thought, I'm not going to drink in the airport, but when I get on that plane, I'm having a couple beers when we're getting far away from the Boone County Jail. So I got some loose change in that for the stewards. Back then, you could just pay cash, and you could still use a card too, but I preferred cash. So I got a lot of singles and that. Get on there, go to the airport, get off at American Airlines. Now, one fear I had, I'm like, I didn't know what the deal was with my flight. I just knew it got canceled for the night, but I'm like, am I on another flight? Do I have to buy another ticket? And then my big fear was, I'm like, is there like some red mark by my name saying that I got arrested yesterday and I can't fly American Airlines? So I go up kind of begrudgingly to the desk. There was a woman, and it's like 7 in the morning. Go up there, and there's a woman. She said, can I help you? I said, yeah, my flight got canceled yesterday. And I said, too long to get into, but I had to leave the airport. I didn't want to say with the police. And I said, I had to leave the airport, and I'm not sure if I'm on another flight or what. She said, what's your name? I said, Martin Wambacher. Oh, yeah, you're on the 11 o'clock flight. Finally, my luck starts to change. She's like, yeah, you're on the 11 o'clock flight. Then she looked at the clock. She's like, why are you here so early? I said, oh, it's the only ride I could get. I'm like, can you give me my boarding pass? Sure. I got my boarding pass, going to the airport, went like to a coffee shop, didn't go to a bar, didn't drink. About 10:30, the plane was loading. So I get online, get in, go past the pilot, co-pilot. Well, there's a stewardess there. She was kind of short, a little chunky. And I looked down at her, and she's like, good morning, sir. And she had a smile, missing her front tooth. And I'm like, boy, it's the real Boone County stewardess. So I looked at her, I'm like, good morning, good looking, how you doing? I was so happy to be getting out of there. And she was like, oh, thank you. She really liked that. So I get on my plane. I'm like sitting up near the front, and plane takes off. I'm like, thank God I'm getting away from here. And once again, I do remember thinking, I can't wait to tell everybody this story. And so we're flying back. After about 20 minutes, she comes down with a little drink cart. And she said, hey, sweetie, you want something to drink? And I'm like, yeah, I'll take a can of Budweiser. There you go. I pay her. A couple seats down now, I hear her kind of like arguing with a guy, saying, no, I can't change that. I told you you don't have a charge card. No, I don't have a card. And I kind of look down, and she looks over at me, and she's like, she's holding a 20. She's like, you wouldn't by any chance have change for a 20, would you? And I had all this change. I took out my money. I'm like, yeah, I got a 10, a 5, and 5, 1. Oh, God, that's perfect. Can you switch that for this 20? I'm like, yeah, have at it if it'll help you out. Oh, thank you so much. I'm like, don't worry about it. And so she gives the guy the drink, services the rest of the plane. Now comes back with her card, and stops by me, takes out a can of Budweiser, puts it on my tray. I'm just finishing the one. She's like, there you go, sweetie. This one's on the house. Thanks so much for helping out back there. I'm like, hey, my pleasure. I'm happy to do it. So then she kind of walked away, and I'm sitting there just finishing the one can of beer, and I'm looking at this new one, and I'm like, man, less than 24 hours, this airline had me thrown in jail because I stunk of beer. And now they're giving me free beer. That's when I learned that American Airlines is a bipolar airline. There's Sarah again while I make snack mix number 2.
This goes out to Mr. New York City. You walked into the party like you were walking onto a yacht. Your head strategically dipped below one eye. Your stuff, it was apricot. You had one eye on the mirror as you watched yourself cover art. And all the girls dream they'd be your partner, they'd be your partner. You're so vain. You probably to see the total eclipse of the sun. We'll go where you should be all the time, and when you're not, you're with someone double sky. Oh, the wife of a close friend, wife of a close friend, you're so vain. Thanks. You're getting custom arrangements of all these songs here tonight.
All right, I said snack mix number 2. It's actually snack mix number 3. The last one of the evening, I call this one the Ponch and John snack mix from the TV show Chips, because I wanted everything to have kind of a law and order theme. I made it with Chips Deluxe, Chips Deluxe Soft Batch, and Chips Deluxe Fudgy. It's a little sweet snack treat. Let's see who wins this. Let's go into the 30s. How about 33? Anybody? Is that you? My family's winning all. I swear this wasn't rigged. This is my sister Mary. Well, just scream it out. Exactly. All right, my sister Terry. Mary Beth wants to dig into those right now. All right, that's the last snack mix of the evening. Here's the last monologue of the evening. They say that you never, there's a famous story that goes, you never forget the first time. Usually that's like attached to a romantic memory, like you never forget the first time you went out on a date. You never forget the first time you kissed somebody. You never forget the first time you had sex with somebody. Well, I'm a little different if you found out tonight. When I hear the words, you never forget the first time, I think you never forget the first time you got thrown in jail. And luckily, this memory doesn't include a date, a kiss, or sex. But it is a good memory. For the very first time that I ever got thrown in jail, we go back to the summer of 1976. Brian Adams had the summer of 69. I had the summer of 76. I just graduated from high school, from Bergen High School. And I was happy to get out of high school. I wasn't a big school guy, but I was in the fall going to college. So I was kind of closing one chapter, going to be starting another. In the middle was the summertime. So I was going to have a really fun summer. And I did, but I hit a little fork in the road in July of that year. And the fork was the Peoria County Jail. What happened was I was going out with two of my friends, Scott Kramer, who now lives in Florida. I saw him like 3 years ago. And Tim Hennessy, who lives right here in Peoria. In fact, Tim is here tonight. Where are you, Tim? Stand up and say, let's give Tim a hand here. Tim and I have been friends for decades, so he deserves a medal for all the shit he's had to put up with from me. So I actually called him. I'm like, hey, remember that night I got arrested back? Because especially the beginning is kind of fuzzy. Maybe it's because I drank about a gallon of alcohol, but so we kind of pieced the night back together. Tim remembered it too. So I picked Tim and Scott up on a Saturday night, and first place we went to, and neither of us could remember what the destination was for the night, where we were going, but the first place we stopped at was Mount Holly Country Club. We didn't go into the dining room. We didn't went to a wedding reception. We were outside the parking lot. They used to have, I don't know if it's still there, there was like a little picnic area. There were like 2 picnic tables. And when we started driving, I don't even remember, I don't think Tim does either, how we started going there. But we used to go there all the time before like we'd go somewhere like pre-beer party beers. So this night we had a lot of booze. I think like 6:30 we went there, and nobody ever bothered us from Mount Holly. To this day, I don't get, they used to see us sitting there drinking beers and that. I mean, we were 18, we weren't even old enough to drink, but they never bothered us. We always picked up after ourselves, never caused any trouble. But this night we had a lot of beer, and Tim and I couldn't remember if it was 1 or 2 bottles of Mogan David 2020, Mad Dog 2020. So we were drinking, I can't remember if we were smoking pot, who knows what we were doing, it was the 70s. But I do know we were drinking, and I drank a lot in a short amount of time. A lot of the Mad Dog 2020. And after we consumed all this booze in a short amount of time, I made 3 really bad life decisions. The first one was I said to Tim and Scott, I'm like, hey, let's get in the car and get going. We got in the car. Second bad life decision was taking my car keys and putting in the ignition. You probably guess what the third mistake was, turning the car on and heading out of Mont Holly Country Club. Headed out, made it out of the country club okay. I took the left on Knoxville, then kept going, went over the median in the road. The cars are coming this way, they're trying to get out of my way. I clipped one car and we both kind of stopped, just clipped it in the back, like back bumper. Didn't even do anything to my car, but it made a noise. We both kind of stopped. And I'm like, you know what, fuck it. And I kept going then. So I went back over the median. I had 2 flat tires. Pull in, that neighborhood's still there. Pulled into this neighborhood in front of a house. And now this is where Tim and I have different memories of it. I kind of remember, I thought what happened was the 3 of us just sat in the car until the cops came because the car that I hit got my license number. And Tim remembers that I said, and this makes me look like a lot noble and better guy, so I'll go with Tim's memory. Tim said that I said to him and Scott, I'm like, you guys better get the fuck out of here because this is probably going to be big trouble. So Tim said he walked home. Scott went to Bullmore where we used to hang out. And I'm just sitting in the car. Well, sure enough, about 5 minutes, the cop car pulls up behind me. Male and female cop get out. I get out of the car. It's obvious that I'm in no shape to be driving. I was in no shape to be walking. And so they said, we got a call. Somebody called from a payphone, gave us your license number, said you hit him. They said you went into this neighborhood. You're going to be charged with hit and run, driving while intoxicated. They read me my rights, handcuffed me. My first time in jail. And I can't believe this. So I'm in the back of the thing, we go to the Peoria County Jail, and this is where, like I said, the beginning was really fuzzy. Now it's a lot more clear because I did learn an important lesson. I learned when you go to jail, you sober up real fast. So get to jail, they fingerprint me, go to a couple rooms first. They fingerprint me, take the front and back mug shot, holding the numbers. Then I get the jail suit that I told you about, first time seeing one. Get the orange jail suit, put all my belongings in an envelope, put on the sandals, and one of the cops says to me, he's like, you think you can make bail tonight? And I said, yeah, I think I can. It's like, 9 o'clock now or something. I said, yeah, I'm pretty sure I can. My plan was to call my dad. All my friends were out. It was Saturday night. They would have had the bail was $100. He said, your bail is going to be $100. I said, yeah, I think I'll call my dad. They're like, okay, we got to process you, do paperwork. You can't make the call until we do that. You're going to have to sit in the holding cell until you can make your call. So we leave that room, and in the back of my mind, though, I'm thinking, my dad growing up always said, I don't know if Tom or Terry remember this, but I say, get thrown in jail, don't call me. I'm not going to come in. Like a lot of dads say, I always took it as half a joke, but that night I'm thinking, well, I hope he comes and gets me. I can get out of here. And then the other part of me just felt like an idiot because I was in jail. But anyway, I had to sit for a couple hours, so he takes me to a holding cell in another room, probably like 18 feet wide, like 12 feet back, and there was just a cement bench in there and a toilet in the corner of it. There were 3 guys in there sitting on the cement bench, a Hispanic guy and 2 black guys. For the first time in my life, I'm 18 years old, I'm the only white guy in the room. So we walk in there, the guard opens the thing, kind of pushes me in, and shuts it. He's like, okay, fellas, you got a new friend in here. Have fun and play nicely. And then he leaves. Now it's just us in this room. There were no cameras or anything. It was 1976. So I kind of just stand in there. And the 2 on the end, they did look at me, kind of looked me up and down. But they seemed like they were focused on something else, and they were. I found out later what their story was. But the guy in the middle was just glaring at me. And this was a huge guy. Sitting down, I could tell. He was like probably 6'5". Huge arms, looked like a weightlifter, looked like a really badass guy. And he is just glowering at me. And I'm kind of standing there looking at him. And he's like, when I was 18, I looked like I was like 13 or 14. I had a baby face. And he's just staring at me. He's like, look at the fucking white boy. He's like, what, they pick you up off an 8th grade playground? Jesus Christ, how old are you? And I'm just thinking, Jesus, this guy really has it in for me. And I'm like, I'm 18. I always think back on, maybe I should have gone into full Alice Cooper mode and said, I'm 18. And I don't think he would have thought that was too funny. So I just said to him, I'm 18. You look like you're 12, 13 years old. Jesus Christ. He's like, get to that other side of the cell, white boy. And don't even think about sitting on our bench and quit looking at us. And I'm just like, holy shit, I'm gonna die in here. So I went to the other side of the cell, just kind of standing there, but looking at him out of the corner of the eye. The other two guys aren't even looking at me, but he is still glaring at me. Just really I don't know what it was, but glaring at me, and I'm thinking, hey, what am I going to do? Well, I told you, in 1998, you couldn't smoke in jail. 1976, you were free to smoke in jail. When I gave them all my belongings, they're like, do you want to keep your cigarettes and matches? And I'm like, yeah. So I had cigarettes in my orange jumpsuit. So I'm like, oh, fuck it, I'll smoke a cigarette. So I take my cigarettes out. With that, he gets up off the bench and walks over, all 6'5" feet of him, and he looking down at me. He's like, give me those fucking cigarettes, white boy. And I put them back in my pocket, and I'm like, no, they're mine. I had never been in jail, but I knew enough. I mean, I had enough street smarts to know. There's always an old saying that said, you get thrown in jail, you need to find like the biggest, baddest motherfucker and hit him in the mouth. You might get the shit kicked out of you, but at least you'll have the respect of everyone in there. So I knew you shouldn't act like a pussy in jail. So I said no. And now he looks enraged. He's like, I'm not asking you, white boy. I'm telling you, give me those fucking cigarettes or I'm going to take them from you. And if I take them from you, you're going to get the living shit kicked out of you. Now, my stomach is about in knots. But I just said, no, they're mine. And I said, I know you're capable of beating the shit out of me, but if you do, in the process, you're going to get hurt too. And then he kind of looked at me and he's like, what did you just say to me? And I said, it's obvious you can kick the shit out of me. Now these two guys at the end of the bench, they're kind of watching like, holy shit, I wonder what's going to happen. I said, but you're going to get hurt too. And then the rage on his face did disappear, and he's just like, looking down at me, and I'm just kind of standing there. Just my big plan, I remember in my mind what I was going to do. I was going to try and kick him in the balls. I did that once in 8th grade when a bully was bugging me, and my brother Jim, I was telling my brother Jim, I was like, tomorrow if he does it again, just kick him right in the balls, and that'll be the end of that. So I did that, so I'm thinking, maybe that's what I'll do to this guy. So all of a sudden, he just kind of goes quiet, doesn't say anything, staring at me. And I mean, like 20 seconds go by, it seems like an eternity. Because I'm just waiting to get rained on by punches from this guy. But again, the rage is gone. And after about 20 seconds, I heard the most marvelous noise I think I've ever heard in my life, and that was his laughter. All of a sudden, I hear, you're going to hurt me, fucking white boy, you're going to hurt me? And he turns to you guys and goes, fellas, get over here. The white boy's going to hurt me, he's going to hurt me. And he's laughing, and I'm thinking, feel kind of relieved. I'm like, man, is this the end of him giving me shit? And it was. I'm kind of standing there. Well, then he stops laughing, and he kind of looked me up and down. And he's like, you got some balls on you, white boy. He's like, what the hell is your name anyway? I'm like, I'm Marty. He's like, I'm Leon. And he took out his giant hand. I shake that, and he's like, you want to sit on the bench and tell us what the fuck you did to get thrown in jail on a Saturday night? And I said, yeah, okay. So I go over, we sit down on the bench, and I look at him like, and the two other guys, they never said hardly anything. They're kind of looking at everything, and as we sit down, I'm like, well, thanks. And then I took my cigarettes out. I'm like, you want a cigarette? And that caused everybody to start laughing. And I told them what I did. I found out the two guys on the end, why they weren't too talkative, they got caught stealing a car in downtown Peoria. They were in the holding cell waiting to go to real jail. Well, Leon told me that he'd been drinking in the afternoon. He's like, I was with my old lady. She's getting on my last fucking nerve. I'm drunk. He said, I started slapping the shit out of her. She's yelling and crying. Neighbors called the cops. I get arrested for battery. He's like, I call my buddies coming here to bail me out. He's like, I'm not going home, though, because I'd murder that fucking bitch. And so we start talking about stuff. We ended up talking about music, of all things. And I've been into Chuck Berry since I've been a little kid. When me and my brother Jim were kids, we bought like the second Beatles album. I was like 8 years old. And Roll Over Beethoven was on that. I think on the very first Stones album, they did a couple Chuck Berry covers. We went to the record store. We lived in Louisville, Kentucky at the time. We went to the record store in the mall. I'm sure Tom and Terry remember that. And we had said to the kids, we're like, who's this Chuck Berry guy that the Beatles and Stones do songs by? And they're like, Chuck Berry to the Beatles and Stones is what the Beatles and Stones are to you. They idolize this guy. We're like, really? So we saved up our money, bought Chuck Berry's Greatest. Well, then I'd been a fan ever since. So he brought up Chuck Berry. I'm like, man, I love Chuck. Really? And I said, yeah, I've been listening to him since I've been a kid. And he looks like, a little white kid's listening to Chuck Berry? What the fuck? And I told him about, he didn't know like the Beatles had ever covered his things. So we kind of bond over Chuck Berry. And I remember I said to him, and he loved this. I'm like, I always say, they say Elvis Presley is the king of rock and roll. I always say Chuck Berry was the king of rock and roll. Elvis didn't write his own song. And Leon's loving it. Yeah, you motherfucker, you're right, God damn it. And so we kind of bond over that, talk a little bit more. Well, after about 10 minutes, a cop comes in. He's like, hey, Leon, your buddy's here. You made your bail. You can get out of here. So he gets up off the bench. I take my cigarettes. I'm like, hey, you want a couple of cigarettes for the road? He looks down. He's like, yeah, thanks, man. He's like, take care of yourself. And then he looks at the guard. He's like, this guy is a badass motherfucker. And he walked, and I'll never forget the guard looking at me like, and then looking at Leon like, what in the fuck is going on in here? And so Leon gets out. It's just me now in the cell. And after about 10 minutes, a cop comes in. He's like, we've done your paperwork and everything. You want to make your cold call? I'm like, what time is it? I think it was like 10 o'clock or something. He's like, it's about 10. I'm like, can you give me a little more time? I said, my dad might be out to dinner. He said, yeah, but you got to make this before midnight or you're here all weekend. I'm like, can you come back in like a half an hour? Again, I was just kind of thinking, I mean, I'm in there alone anyway. And I'm not sure if he's going to come get me or what's going to happen. And part of me, too, felt like a real jerk-off for being in jail and having to call him. There's a band, I don't know if any of you remember, know this band called Was Not Was. And they have a song called Hello, Dad. You probably know him, Dustin. They have a song called Hello, Dad, I'm in Jail. And that's what this was. So after about a half an hour, the cop comes and he's like, you want to make your call? I'm like, yeah, okay, let's go make it. So he lets me go to his desk, call my home number. My dad was sleeping. Hello. I said, hey, Dad, it's Marty calling. Marty, where are you? You okay? I said, listen, had some trouble tonight, drank too much. I got a driving while intoxicated ticket. Didn't tell him about the hit and run yet. I'm like, I'm here in jail. What? You're in jail? Okay, what? And then he starts like freaking out. I said, yeah, it's $100 bail. Can you come get me? I'll be there right away. The whole don't call me went right out the window. I'll be there right away. So I hung up. They gave me my clothes. I said, my dad's on the way. They're like, okay, you can put your clothes back on. They give me my clothes. Get dressed. My dad comes down. I have to fill out some paperwork, get my 2 tickets, driving while intoxicated, and the hit and run. Get that. My dad pays for it. We walk out to his car, get on the passenger side. He turns to me. He's like, so what happened? And then I tell him about the hit and run. I'm like, I got really drunk early on with Tim and Scott. And like an idiot, I got in the car and I was driving. I said, I just nicked another car, but then I took off. He's like, what? I said, yeah, I got a hit and run ticket and a driving while intoxicated. Oh my God. And he kind of looked at, by now it's like 11:30. And he's like, when did all this happen? I'm like, around 7 o'clock. And he's like, and they just let you make a phone call now? I said, well, I kind of put it off a little bit. And he's like, why? And I'm like, because you guys said not to call you if you were in jail. And I didn't know if you'd come get me. And and then my dad, I'll never forget the look of my dad's face. He looked like somebody hit him in the gut. And he's like, listen, you ever get thrown in jail, I don't want to go through this with you ever again, but you get thrown in jail, call me as soon as you can, and I'll come get you. And then I felt kind of bad because I could tell that made him feel bad. I'm like, well, part of me felt like an idiot just getting thrown in jail. I feel like a real stooge. And he's like, you made a mistake. Let's go home and go to bed, and we'll talk about this in the morning. So go to bed, get up, talk to my mom and dad about it, and my dad says to me, a lot of you probably know this, but my uncle was an attorney back then, my Uncle Bill, my dad's older brother, pretty well-known attorney. He ended up becoming a judge. And he also, my Uncle Bill was a real jokester, and this kind of goes in with the stories while I'm saying this. He also liked to have a drink or two. Or 3 or 4. He liked to have a few drinks. Him and his attorney buddies, I don't know if anybody remembers a bar in downtown Peoria called the Puff. That's where he hung out at, and so my dad said to me as we're talking, he's like, if you want to call your Uncle Bill, he might be able to help you out, but I'm not, you got to call him. I think he probably that morning, I never asked him, but I bet he called my Uncle Bill and said, Marty's in trouble. Yeah. And my uncle knew everybody. And back in 76, you could kind of play around a little. And so I called my Uncle Bill, and I said, hey, Uncle Bill, it's Marty. Hey, how you doing? I said, not too good. I did something really dumb. Tell him. And he's like, you and your dad going to be home this afternoon? I said, yeah. Let me come over. I'll look at the tickets. He said, I can probably help you out. He's like, the hit and run is the thing we got to take care of first. So that was the worst. Back then in 76, driving while intoxicated, which is a DUI now, it wasn't as bad as it is today. It was bad, but it wasn't a big whoop-de-doo. The hit and run was the bad thing. So he came over, we're talking, he's like, let me call, because I didn't know who I hit. And he said, let me call somebody I know at the police station tomorrow, we'll find out who you hit, and I'll call you tomorrow. Next afternoon, he calls me, great news. I'm saying, what happened? The hit and run is gone. I called the people, got their name. Turns out I know the guy's brother-in-law. And he said, I lied to him. I told him these big jokes. He's like, I lied to him and told him you're a real good kid. So he said, I got their phone number. They said, they won't press charges if you pay for it. They need to get, they said it would be like $100, $200. I'm like, yeah, I'm happy to pay for it. He gave me their name, phone number. I called the people up. I can't remember their name now. I wish, if they're still alive, I would like to have invited them tonight. But they were really nice. I called them up. I said, hey, I'm really sorry what I did last night. No, listen, you talked to your uncle. He told me he's made a stupid mistake. We all do it. If the body shop sends you the bill where you just paid, I said, yeah, I'm happy to. And thank you for not pressing charges. And so that was out the window. So now I'm clear on that. Now all he's left is driving while intoxicated. So my uncle said, let's wait till they make the court date. I'll find out who the judge is, and then I'll talk to the judge. I'm like, okay. So the court date comes. He talks to the judge, calls me. He's like, okay, it's really good. You're kind of getting out of all this. He said, the judge is a buddy of mine, and he said he's going to reduce it to reckless driving, going to give you like a $150 fine. You're going to have 2 months probation. Watch yourself on this probation because you don't want to get in trouble. I said, no, I won't. I learned my lesson. I mean, I didn't know back then that I'd be going to jail 4 more times, but I thought that would be it. I said, no, I learned my lesson. And he said, okay. I'm like, Uncle Bill, listen, I really want to thank you for this. He's like, well, I'm telling you, this is a one-time deal. This happens to you again. You're calling an attorney and you're going to have to pay for it. I'm like, no, it won't happen again. Yeah, I didn't. Little did I know. So anyway, he said, well, go to court and just act like you don't know what's coming. And I said, okay. So the day before the court comes, put on a coat and tie, got a haircut, trying to look as clean cut as I can. Go into the courthouse, find the courtroom. The male cop who arrested me, he's at one table, I'm at another. The judge comes in. I mean, he kind of looked like Perry Mason. I can't think of his name, but probably in his 50s. He comes walking in, and he sits down, and he has a piece of paper. It was like the first trial or whatever of the day, hearing of the day. And he's like, okay, first up, Martin, and like I say, he talked to my Uncle Bill. He knew who I was, but he's like, Martin Wambacher. He's like, could you stand up? I'm like, yes, Your Honor. I stand up. He's like, are you in relation to Bill Wambacher, the attorney? I said, yes, sir, that's my uncle. Then he looked back down at the thing. He's like, driving while intoxicated. And he looked back at me. He's like, why does that not surprise me? And like all the bailiffs and everything in there started laughing. And I didn't know. I'm just standing there. I don't know what to do, but I look over at the cop. The cop is like glaring daggers at me because he knows that the fix is in. And he knows the judge knows my uncle. So goes through some rigmarole, ended up saying, okay, you've got no other priors on your record. Up until now, he said, I'm assuming this was just a really dumb mistake on your part. And I'm like, yes, Your Honor, it was. I've learned my lesson. I'll never do it again. That's what I wanted to hear. Reducing this to reckless driving, you're going to have a $150 fine, and you'll be on probation for 2 months, so you better watch yourself. I said, yes, Your Honor, I will. Thank you. And I kind of look over at the cop. Now the cop is just staring daggers at me. He kind of marched out of there, and they're bringing other people in. So I quickly went up to the bench, and I just said, Your Honor, I shook his hand. I said, I really want to thank you for giving me a break. I really, really appreciate that. He kind of looked both ways, and he's like, tell your uncle he owes me a couple drinks. I'm like, yeah, okay. Well, in this story brought back, I mean, I know Tom and Terry will agree, we had really great parents. And they like helped me through that. There was a lot of other things they went through, more so with me and Jim than Tom and Terry, but they went through a lot. My Uncle Bill helped me out a lot. So they're and all three are gone now, but I feel like we kind of brought them back tonight with this story. So I'd like all of you, in their honor, let's all grab your drink, and let's have a cheers to my parents and to my Uncle Bill. I'm lucky to have had the relatives I had. And cheers to all of you for coming tonight. That's the end of the monologues. We're going to bring Sarah back to close the show with a classic Johnny Cash prison song, Folsom Prison Blues. Take it away.
Keep it going for Marty Wambacher. Y'all, I'm hoping you've never heard this song in this way before. Hope you enjoy it. hear a train a-coming, it's rolling around the bend, and I ain't seen the sunshine since I don't know when. I'm looking for some prison, and time keeps dragging on. But that train keeps rolling on down to San Antonio. When I was just a baby, my mama told me, son, always be a good boy, don't ever play with girls. But I got a man in Reno just to watch him die. And when I hear that whistle blowing, I hang my head and cry. Well, I bet there's rich folks sitting in a fancy dining car. They're probably drinking coffee and smoking big cigars. But I know I had it coming. I know I can't be free. But those people keep moving, and that's what tortures me. Well, if they free me from this prison, if that railroad train was mine, I bet I'd move it on a little farther down the line, far from Folsom Prison. That's where I want to stay. And I let that lonesome vessel just blow my blues away. If they free me from this prison, that railroad train was mine, I bet I'd move it on a little farther down the line, far from Folsom Prison. That's where I want to stay. And I let down some vessel just blow my blues away. Yeah, I let down some vessel blow my blues
I really want to thank everybody for coming out tonight. Great job, Sarah. You did a great job with the music tonight. Let's hear another round for Sarah, Marie, Dillard.
Thank you, Marty.
Keep it going for Marty. Why not?
Thank you, everybody. We got an after-show party happening. There's gonna be free flatbread pizza for everybody.
Flatbed pizza.
Yeah, there you go. That'll be later tonight. Will be the flatbed pizza. Stick around, enjoy some of the pizza. I'd love to talk to everybody. Thank all of you for coming. So thanks to all of you. Thanks to Sarah Marie Dillard. I hope you all had a very good time tonight. Thanks for coming, and stick around for the after-show party. Thank you.
Keep it going for our staff and crew. Thanks, staff and crew. You've been incredible.
Thank you for lighting, sound, everybody. Y'all did a great
And
job.
our good friend Marty Wybacker.
Yeah, thanks, Sarah.
Marty